Okay, good morning, everybody. This is Kotev Part 5, Roman numeral V. Today is it's a really fun topic. Every topic in Kotev is fun, but this is good because we're going to talk about chocolate cake and we're going to talk about cookies. So anytime we talk about chocolate cake and talk about food, it's always a lot more enjoyable. What was that?
I'm going to get very hungry.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Afterwards, I have to go and eat something. So, unfortunately, before we can enjoy the chocolate cake, we have to do a bit of learning first. So, source number 1. The Mishnah says, if a person writes, Al Shnei Kotlei Zavit, Al Shnei Luchei Pinkas, Vehen Negin Ze Im Ze Chayav. The Mishnah writes, if a person writes on Shnei Kotlei Zavit, so what exactly does that mean? So let's just first translate. Kotlei, a kotel is a kotel is a wall. We're not talking about a kotel maravi, right? This is a kotel, regular wall. And now, what do you think would be Shnei Kotlei Zaviot? What do you think that's referring to? What's a zavit? Corner. Very good. So you're writing two parts of the corner. So let's assume for now, right? You have a wall that goes like this. So you have two letters right on each part of the corner. Right on each part of the corner. Right, exactly, right? So you have an A there and a B there, an Aleph there and a Bet there, right? So, or on two different parts of a pinkas, right? A luach, a pinkas, and the hem negin zeim zecher yochayim. So if you have a pinkas is like a notebook, like a pad of some sort, right? And you have, two luachs, two boards of a pinkas, two, I guess we call today, two pieces of paper. That would be considered a kotev, right? This is a doraita. This is chayav. You violate an isur doraita of kotev. Amar Rav Ami. Then we're going to jump to the Gemara. Says the Gemara. Katavod achad b'Tiveria. If a person writes a letter in Tiveria, the echad b'Tzipori, you can see already the Jewish community, right, has moved north. Talking about Tiveria and Tzipori. Chayav. What? What do you mean? You write a letter in Tiveria? You write another letter in Tzipori? You chayav chatak? K'tiva here. This is k'tiva. They're just lacking kreva, being brought together. To understand what's he saying here.
Writes in one location, goes to a different location, and then writes another letter. Very good.
It's not that you write a letter in location A, leave the letter there, write in location B. So it appears, right? It appears that what are you doing? You're writing two letters. You're writing that second letter an hour later, but that second letter is appearing next to that first letter that you wrote, right? It doesn't make sense to say you write a letter in Toronto, a letter in Montreal. You need kotev. What are you talking about? That's absurd. You ask a very good question. Do you need kavana? It would appear that you're writing that second letter in close proximity to the first, so yes, that is your intent. What about if when you wrote that first letter, you never intended on traveling? That'd be an interesting question, right? If you write one letter in location A with the intent just to write a letter in location A, what would be the result? All right, that's for another time. Ask the Gemara, Vatana, what do you mean? Why you chayav? Katav al shnei kotlei habayit, al shnei dapei pinkas, ve'ein negin ze im ze patur. So it appears the havamin of the Gemara was that you wrote two letters, two different places, and you left them there. You'd be patur for that. Again, why? Because, think about it for a minute. We have a Mishnah that you write down in two walls of the house. You write it, by the way, notice the distinction between this language of the Mishnah and what we started with, right? This is Shnei Kotlei Habayit. So you write a letter over there on the north wall, and a letter over there on the south wall. That's what? Pater. They're not negins of it. As opposed to writing in a zavit, as opposed to writing in a corner, two corners are adjacent to each other.
If we did this and we put a line in the middle to make a distinction between the two letters.
Hold on to that thought, because that will be very important when we talk about. Hold on to that. You'll see that might matter, might not matter. Okay. Good. So again, the Mishnah says that if you write two different letters, one on the north wall, Mishnah says you write a letter on the north wall, a letter on the south wall, you're pater. Answer. Continues the Gemara. Hata mechusar ma'aseh dekreva. Hacha lo mechusar ma'aseh dekreva. Yeah, it's very simple. In a situation where you're writing on the north and the south wall, you're mechusar kreva. You're lacking kreva. You're lacking connectivity. They're no longer juxtaposed to each other. You lack juxtaposition. Oh, let's speak fancy English today. You lack juxtaposition. Welcome, gentlemen. You lack juxtaposition. We're just going to, a very brief summary. This is Kote part 5. And we're actually still in source number 1. The Mishnah says if you write on two walls that are on an angle, you're chayav isur doraita. Right? And if you write on two walls, on the north and the south wall, you're pater. Why? Because when you write on the zavit, the Gemara uses the language of it is, take a look, at the end of 1, it's called Meiser Kreva. That when you have, they're juxtaposed to each other, they're adjacent to each other if they're in the corner. But if they're at a north wall and a south wall, no, those are considered separate. They're not. It's considered your mechusar kreva. If a person writes one letter in Sipori, another letter in Tiveria, you're also pater. Why? Because you're chayiv. I apologize. Why? The first letter that you're writing in location A, when you then add that second letter to location B, they're now connected to each other. Right? Perhaps the havmina of the Gemara was, though, if you write one letter in one place and you leave it there, and then you write another in another place and leave it there, you'd not be havmina, maybe. But we said that it can't be right. That doesn't make sense because they have to be next to each other of some sort. Okay. What I want to do is, and using that as a springboard, I want to talk about a couple of cases. I don't think they do it here in this wonderful base medrash, but it used to be in many places until people became very firm. Let's just see for a second. They don't do it here. Most people don't do it anymore. There used to be a time where people would stamp this part of the Siddur, the Chumash, the Gemara, property of Beis Medrash. So here's a question. Is this considered Mochek? And is this considered Kotev? Right? You follow? You have a stamp here. And by doing this, what are you doing? You're destroying the property of belonging to. And when you close it, what are you doing? Are you considered being Kotev? Are you writing those things?
What's the purpose of the stamp? The purpose stamp is simple. Identify property up.
I guess this way, no one would ever, I guess if you'd write it over here, you see here, here we go. Here they do it in the sitters. What could you do? I kid you not. This is what happens in universities. Never, not in Toronto, where we're nice and friendly. But if a textbook, not that the sitter is not expensive. You have a textbook that's $300. Here's a person's name. So what do? You rip out this page, you write your name here, and it's yours. I went to Associated, and I remember my parents taught me a trick. This is not because of Associated. Actually, I was in Associated yesterday. I spoke there. Their B'nai Mitzvah celebration. I saw your papa. So, why am I telling you all that? Because I remember as a kid, my parents taught me a trick. They said, write your name over here, and then choose another page in the book to write your name. Did you do that too? Right?
I've seen it.
You've seen it before? So I would use my address. I grew up, I lived on 50. What?
Kotel does that. A bunch of random art schools.
Really?
It's probably Mishra Kotel. Random pages. 10 times through the book.
Right. Just in case. Yeah. Not that they're chosheted. They're chosheted people walking in and doing it, not Bachrim, of course, right? So I lived at 55 Evanston. So I wrote my name on page 55 also. This way, if people ripped it out, people would do that. Textbooks are very expensive. So do not try this at home. So instead of doing that, let me tell you, if you put a stamp over here, what are they supposed to do exactly, right? Rip out every single page, and be very difficult to do. So what? Sand it down, right? Engrave your name on the side. So that might be nice for property identification. But what about for Shabbos? Maybe the opposite. You shouldn't use your textbook on Shabbos. The way you're not allowed to use your textbook on Shabbos. You can't do it. It's ketiva or mochek. That's a question. This question was asked to the Ramah. It's source number 2.
Yeah. So the things that come on you cleaning the tags, they take off.
Okay,
so right,
that is
that we could take it off.
So that's Korea.
The purpose of the
Right,
is
to put it on. Yes.
So it's the purpose of the stamp to open it, close it.
Right. Okay.
Not intentional.
Here's the difference. Do you want that stamp to last forever? Sure you do. When you put that stamp on, your intent this should last for Lolam Boed. It's a durable stamp. You're not putting the stamp on to last a day.
Words to last forever.
Sure you do. You want to identify this forever. Oh, because you're opening and closing.
Your intent isn't for the connected letters to stay connected.
Right. You're saying it right.
The intention of the stamp is the marking specifically.
Okay. So your intent is to mark it up. You know for a fact it's not going to stay connected because a book is meant to be used.
This is your intention for it to stay connected. It's the intention for it to stay on.
Okay, good.
It's to take the ink off.
Okay, good. Now, this is an enormous shoot, but we're going to read the beginning and we're going to jump. So take a look. Let's read this question. So we see, we're talking about 500 years ago. This is what they used to do. Should we be suspicious and concerned about Kodev Moch on Shabbos? After all, this is the lashon of your question, and it's a good question. It's a good question. It was entertained by the Ramah, so it has to be a pretty good question. So take a look at this. Nira de yesh ledaktik v'hatova. Such a good question. He starts off that you got to really investigate. You have to really think about this. It's not so simple. I could say for sure mutter, for sure asur. It's going to require investigation. Which, wow, look at that. Daf Kuf Dalet. Amud Beis. What a coincidence. It's our source number 1. Katav b'mashkin b'mei peras ba'avak drachim v'chol davar she'eino miskayim your patur. V'yadua decho p'turei b'shabes patur. Aval asur. We know that there's a cloud. When you do something, when you use, says the Ramah, when you write letters, something which is not permanent, we discussed this before, it's not Issur D'Oraita, it's still an Issur D'Rabbanan. Patur aval asur. When it says patur, what are you patur from? Depends. If it's b'shogeg, you're patur from a korban chatat, and if it's patur aval asur, and if it's a mezid, you're patur from skila. That's what patur means, right? But it's still asur to do. We're not going to give you shlishi in shul, right? You still did something which is inappropriate. Skip down to the following. Okay, if you take a look at 3/4 of the way down, in the middle line, there's the 3 letters Ad Kan Lashono. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines. That's what we're going to pick up in the middle. Everyone see it? Be'ata yesh daktak. Amai tana hakodev aluche pinkas litnei ributa tvei. Daf filoy kodfim kfar im potech v'noel pinkas haviktiva mechika. De'dua de'elo pinkasim asoyim meluchim asoyim liftoch lino. Elavadai de'en ze mikra ktiva mechika. The first thing he says is when you have these letters on pinkas, and this is what he's going to have to argue. He says, what are you allowed to do if you have high holidays in shul? How do they announce pages in the shul? How do they notify the congregation of what pages are on in davening? What do they do? You read it out loud? I know what page you're on. You just say it? You announce you have someone announce the pages?
There's like a page guy.
Isn't there a page guy? You have a page guy? Maybe not here. This is a small shul. It's a small room. So in shul, the bayit, they have a page guy. What do? They have like a big binder, so to speak, right? And there's 3. They are on these little. There's page 1, 2, 3, and they flip the cards. So now we're on page 126, and then they flip the 6, now it turns into an 8, 128. They flip this down, and that goes into a 2, and they flip. So he says, wait a second. That's just, you're flipping pages. That's a pinkas, right? Because that's okay to do. Why is that okay to do? The letter is the word is now 123, and why aren't you writing page 126? And you're flipping it, because that's not kotev. Because there's something going on here. And aren't they next to each other? Right? They're next to each other. And you want them to go together. You're not right. You're reading page 126. You have intent to read them together. So why isn't that going together?
They're not connected.
Sure, they're connected.
No, they're not. They're separate things.
You're saying there's
second anagram. It's not exactly in a place.
Okay, but they are connected to each other through a binder. Meaning, are they hanging?
The corner of the wall is connected to each other.
Okay,
These
fine.
slabs are separated by however many.
You're saying that when I have 2 pages, so then I flip this guy over, right? You know what I'm saying? That's how we do it. There's another numbers revealed. So what are they connected to?
No.
It's not connected to each other. They are like in a big binder, no? Yeah, they have to say that. I need a bike guy to help me to describe what's going on here. We don't need bike guys. So it's not fair to ask Shimmy because he does it at a meeting where we don't we dive it together. They don't. That's the Gabbai announced page number minion, not the flipping page number minion. So it's not going to help.
Really
them. But yes, it's very firm. Anyways, you understand the scenario. So let's go. So back to our tshuva. Okay, there it says here. These are the pinkas and masuim meluchim asin liftoach linol elevaded in them mikra. The ein lomar dichuve lomar chayve vapator avalasor dimkein. The chalak minei ubei velitne besefal duach pinkas v'nagin zeim zed pator. Halkay gavna im hayu kotvin far. Okay, so first of all, these letters, they've already been written, right? They're all pre-written, right? We're not talking about, there's no situation here where you have to write the letters, right? All of these letters are totally, they've been written before Shabbos. So, let's go on. In the carving, okay, let's jump to okay, here we go. What about, if I have a door, and I open and close a door on Shabbos, is that considered bona? How come, by closing a door, I'm not being bona a wall?
The point of the door is to open and close it.
What was that?
Function of the door.
Okay, so you have to say that I'm calling this a door, and it's functioning as a door on a hinge. And yes, it's true, when I close the door, I'm building a wall. But that's not the function of the door. Right? So, he wants to argue, welcome. He wants to argue that would also be a very similar case here as well. That, to some extent, if you're having these flaps, these pieces of paper, do you have in the main shul on Rosh Hashanah Kippur?
No, is that,
No, generally speaking.
Yes.
Rosh Hashanah Kippur?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to explain to everybody here the flipping of the page system that they have in the main shul for Rosh Hashanah Kippur. So what we're trying to understand is why isn't that kotev?
Why isn't that kotev?
Why isn't that kotev? It's now page 123. I'm now flipping pages to 127. Why aren't I being kotev page 127?
I mean, in that sense, like, anytime you flip a page on a sitter, you should be kotev.
No, wait a second. Here I'm right now it's in front of me, page 123. I'm now flipping and creating a 127. Flip a sitter, it's all here, right? I'm not moving around numbers. The numbers are all done. And we learned, we walked in a couple minutes late, but we learned that when you have 2 letters that are in the corner, that's kotev. So a letter here and a letter here, and that's called kreva. If it's a letter over there and a letter over there, that's mechusar kreva. We're lacking coming togetherness, cohesiveness, and therefore it's not kotev.
Well,
and that's doraisa. Maybe flipping the numbers should be derabanan, but this would be also to do.
The pages still aren't connected.
So they are. You see where they're connected? Aren't they connected at the top? Where are they connected? The numbers.
I mean, they're connected to like these rings. And the rings are connected to a board.
But
right.
It's not like a corner. The corner has 2 things.
Right. So it's true. It's true. I agree with you. The numbers aren't connected to each other directly, but they're connected
they're both
through the ring to the board.
But not that.
Yeah. It's like this.
2 walls are connected through the rest of the wall.
Yeah, okay, but you're Kreva. You got come on. The page numbers are next to each other. You don't read it page 1, 2, page 123. They're right next to each other.
Yeah, it's like if you look at the numbers all together, they're connected. If you look at those two walls together,
they're connected.
There, yeah.
Right. By the way, what about if you write on too far away from the wall? What if you write a letter there and another letter like on a different panel, 2 panels over, that's on the wall? Is that Kreva? That's Mechusa Kreva. I was still thinking that's Mechusa Kreva, no? Meaning, they're not.
Like when you say
no one writes that way. You don't.
Yeah, like when you say it's Kreva, like you can look at it at one go.
Okay, so the page number is Hashem Kippur. You say page 123.
Right.
So okay.
What's that to do with chocolate cake?
What was that?
What's that?
Oh, yes, we got the chocolate cake. Oh, he actually wants the food. Very good. I started by saying this is today your mother's birthday? Your mother's birthday, isn't it soon? The 17th? It's not today. It's Sunday. I knew it was around this time of year. Right? So you had your mother's birthday cake. Right? It's your mother's birthday soon. What? Sure, you got your mother's birthday cake. So today's my sister-in-law's birthday in Cleveland. Wish her happy birthday. So, birthday cakes hanging out because there are letters on a birthday cake. How do you eat letters on a birthday cake? That's a connection, right? How do you eat a happy birthday to Jonah? How do you eat that on Shabbos? It's mochik, What?
Is it kosher if you write like one letter here and another under it?
Like is that for sure D'Rabbanan? That's for sure.
Because you're not really writing.
In Chinese, so they be doing.
Yeah.
Right. So besides, probably not, right? And that's like a picture, right? Probably not. You don't write that way. It appears because there's no unless you want to say that is Kreva.
Right. I'm saying that's what I'm saying.
I don't know. Maybe you're doing Scrabble. It goes down, and what's it called? Word finds go down in an angle. It could be what you intend, but it's also what are you intending on doing. But we'll get there. Okay. But you can only enjoy food at the end. You can't give away the sugar and the candies in the beginning. You have to build phrase talk about Rosh Kippur flipping pages. Then you can appreciate the cake. Okay, go to the last paragraph. Let's jump to the end because we got to move a little bit quicker. I don't have enough time. You open and close doors or windows on Shabbos. It's not boner. No. When the Gemara talks about Kreva, it's Kreva isn't a Maisa. The Ein Lechalech. The Shani Hatam. The Chol Ot Kitov Legamre B'Makom Echad. That the letter's already written in location A, right? The letters, the numbers 1, 2, 3 have been pre-written. All that's missing is bringing these letters, these numbers together. But what about if I were to have a broken? Let's say the number 1 was broken into 2, and what I needed to do, I needed to close. Let's say, this is a strange way of doing it, I realize that, but let's just talk theoretical for a second here, that if I have the numbers, digits 1, 2, 3, and now digit 1 is half, so what do I need to do? I need to, at the bottom of a 1, and the top of a 1, and what do? I fold them in like this, and that gives you a 1. That is going to be a problem. But he said, if you have a pre-existing digit 1, or a letter aleph, and all you're doing is just flipping them around, he says, that's nothing. Meaning, don't think that when we talk about Kreva that we're so focused on the letters being together, the numbers being together. No, it's not that. Kreva by itself is not a problem. It requires Kreva with writing. That's the problem. Meaning, you need to when you write the 2 letters, it's true. They have to be written and they have to be near each other, to be adjacent to each other, because you got to produce a word. You got to produce something of significance, or 2 letters. Again, some machlokas that we dealt with earlier. But if all you're doing is taking 2 letters and bringing them next to each other, that's not kotev. So the flipping of my digits is not going to be. We're going to see where it might be a problem. We'll get there. We're not quite there yet, but we'll get there.
So what if you
flipping of the digits won't be coded unless you're creating the digits, which, by the way, which still might be a problem, because what are we doing? We're what's it called? We are. What did I just say? Flipping digits. Potentially, in certain circumstances, could be okay, but for on Rosh Hashanah and Kippur, those flipping is going to be considered fine. It's not going to be a problem because the letters, the digits, are already in existence. We'll see a scenario where it might be a problem. We'll get there.
So what if you make a letter?
That's for sure be a problem.
No, but let's say you take you take.
Oh, so you weren't here, so don't even, because that's our problem. They used to, and this is the question of the Ramah, stamp Svarim over here. So the Ramah is going to say, wait a second. When you property of, is this mochek, and then is this kotev? You understand? You ever see that they stamp books? They do it in libraries, don't they? I don't know if libraries do that.
Yeah.
They do, right? That's for sure the best way of identifying a book. There's no question about it. So can you read those on Shabbos? So by opening them, you're doing mochek, and by closing them, you're doing kotev.
What if I take two I's, and I make a V?
I think that's for sure kotev, no?
For sure kotev, but there are two letters that are already there.
Yeah, but you're creating a new letter. Shabbos. No?
I guess. I mean, it would be
no, I'll give you an example. Let's say you have pretzels. You know those stick pretzels? So you can say, you can't make an O so easily, or an A so easily. I guess you can if it's printed, right? But you can start spelling out things on the table on Shabbos. It's still right.
Everyone is an L.
What?
Everyone is an L.
Everyone is an L or an I or a whatever, right? So okay, let's go on. Third line. De'elim kein my pariacha Rabbi matnit de katani al tu kotlei abayis al tu luchei bin Shabbator lishna le data myrid the hefsek be'emsa us. There's a hefsek in the middle of a letter from Rabbi myrid be'hefsikat benotiot ela shomina dolek ala chalik be'achi v'im ken hu adin b'nidan didan demotor v'lo dame. Okay, this is v'lo dame. You cannot compare this. So again, bringing letters together is going to be okay. Velo dame leuga. And this is where he's going to introduce us to this concept. You can't compare this to a cake. Shekod v'nalaha otiot. The aser the shovran. You're not allowed to break up these letters. Dehoil the achlan kai avin ma'aseh. By eating them, you're doing an act. The esher lachso the korban hagaf. You can't bring them together. But when it comes to our book, what can I do? I can take them apart, put them together, take them apart, take them together. I'm not, right? It's almost like he wants to say maybe it's like a door. Just like I can open and open and close the door on Shabbos, open and close, open and close, open and close. What's the problem? That's okay. But when it comes to eating a cake, that's totally different. I'm destroying the letters. If I destroy the letters, I can't recreate it again. If I separate the letters, the chozar, the karvan, the after share, the kriv alav meisehu, the kosher can be safer the omed lino v'liftoach, the kravatov chagod lav tzunu. So he wants to argue that if all you're doing is opening and closing, he says creating these letters on Shabbos is 100% is mutter. Why? Because the letters are in existence, and by bringing them in, they're okay. So I think I mentioned before with the one that you're folding in, he would even say that's mutter to do.
Even though you're making a letter?
Even though I'm making why? Because if it's a flip thing that's made with the intent to flip open, close, like a door, flip open, close, that's permissible to do.
So how's that different than making a letter with two with two eyes? Okay,
so is that flipping? Is that like a door open, close? No. It's not made. It's not on a spring. It's not rotating. So I guess if you had something that were two L's and brought them together for a V, and it's on some type of spring or some type of something, that'd be miserable to do. But to do it one-time shot, that'd be a problem. You're creating a V. Here, you're opening, closing.
No,
whether it's a book, whether it's flipping.
You're making a V.
So again, if it's a, what's it called? If it's considered something which is, has something which is like flipping open and close on a spring, on a latch.
No, but why does the latch make it not creating a V?
Because he says it's there's no ktiva, there's only kreva, and he holds that just by bringing things together, that can easily be separated and back together is mutter. A cake, he says, you can rip them apart, but you can never put it back together again. And since it's not open, close, together, apart, he says that's its chiluk. That's the chiluk of the Ramah. It's a fine chiluk. It's a very fine chiluk. But that's its chiluk, and that's why he holds that you let to stamp books. By the way, I'm still going to argue with the Ramah, which is why we're machmir. I mean, you can lie in the Ramah, but I think you're lying, but others argue in this Ramah. Yeah. So again, that's why Shabbos mutter. We said before, I never really explained why. Why is it permanent?
You're putting it in square, and if you take it out of the square, then you lose that value.
I have a question. Is this permanent? Ramah says mutter. Flipping pages 123, is that permanent? That's mutter. Why is flipping pages to page 123 any less permanent than Scrabble?
Because you lose points if you...
I lose points. I lose people if they're on the wrong page in shul. Losing people is more serious than losing points. What? No.
Yeah.
It's mutter. It's cured. It's mutter. Okay. Let's go to... Let's go to 3. And this, by the way, the Ramah they mentioned in the shoot, he brings down the halacha and Shulchan Aruch in source 3. Jump to the Ramah, it's the second line. Haga, says the Ramah, Asur lishpor uga shekatav aleha kimin otiyot. So happy birthday. You're not allowed to do. You have to get on a cookie and a chocolate slab. But wait. Even though my intent is for achila, considered mochek. By the way, I'm going to argue on this Ramah. So, in a minute. But says Ramah, you're erasing the letters. This is a ma'aseh shechaya. This is 100% a true story. It was after my year in Israel, so I was a gedolei hador, Rosh Yeshiva, muflag after 1 year in Yeshiva, and I was in Camp Mosheva, and someone brought out a birthday cake. And I was not like a fighting type of guy at all. But I knew, the Ramah, you shouldn't do the cake. I didn't feel it was proper to do for chinuch. And the director got very mad at me, and he took a knife and smeared in front of everybody all the letters together. So I called him an Amaret. I said to him, you violated a Ramah publicly. I said, you should be very proud of yourself. He wasn't very happy with me. Actually, we're very close, and none of you are going to know who he is, because this was over 20 years ago. Over 20 years ago. I was, so, anyways, it was a good story. Mamash never forgot. I was so angry. Like, I think you're so lenient to Farhasha. I said, you're just, anyways, doesn't matter. 4. Comes along the Mishnah Berurah and says the Fahavi Mochek. Va'af de'eino amenas lichto. Says the Mishnah Berurah. He says, even though it's not amenas lichto, meaning, when's Mochek asur, gentlemen? Mochek, just for Mochek, is not Daraisa. Right? What's the issue of Daraisa of Mochek? Only Mochek, Amenas, Construct Lichto. Right? For example, what about Korea, Amenas, Litzfor? Right? Right? That's the harder one. Right? All those, Soser, Amenas, Leave note. Right? A destructive act is not Daraisa. Which is why, what happens if you do a destructive act? Is that a daraisa? The Gemara says, what happens if you punch a hole? Let's say you're in a room, you can't breathe. So you punch a hole in the room, and now you're able to breathe. Is that a is that are you now creating a window? Is creating a window bona? Yes, not for now. So next time maybe we'll do Bonyam and Soter. Actually, that's a good topic, Bonyam and Soter. It's a great topic because it also leads into creating cans, right? Cans. Maybe next semester. That's a good idea. So let's continue reading Mishnah Berurah. He says doesn't matter. Mochek is told us to Rabbanan. Even though my intent is not to mechika, psik reishahu. I like this because we get into the various important details and parameters of Erev Shabbos. What is a psik reisha, gentlemen? Cutting off the chicken's head. Wow, violence in the Talmud.
They used to play soccer.
They play soccer with the chicken's head. Do not let the animals' rights people know. Right? They go crazy. They didn't have a soccer ball. There's no Toys R Us. So what do? They see a chicken. They say, we need to play soccer today. We'll behead them. Psik reisha. Psik reisha. Deraisa derabanan. Deraisa. Psik reisha is deraisa. When is it derabanan? Va'av she'eno mechavin limchak. If you don't have kavanah to do it, it's a psik reisha. Va'asar after derabanan. It's also to do derabanan. If you have no intent to do it, so that's derabanan. Isn't that interesting? He's also from the Mishnah Berurah. He writes Shin Yud Vav. We don't write Shin Yud Vav. What do we write instead? Shin Tazayim. He wasn't. The editor in those days wasn't as from. Tshuva. Shivdalid va'ayin besefer dagul mervava shemitzad lahakel the ikar hadinu hazeh. The dagul mervava is binyan. Feviu be shari tshuva no. But you shouldn't devour. Break up the letters. Rak b'fiv dachachila.
You can eat each one separately.
Okay, I mean, you eat 2 letters at a time. Maybe I'm trying to say you can eat in between the letters. You know, so like, the dexterity of your teeth.
In between the letters?
In between the letters, he says permissible.
Breaking it up to create 2 new words.
We've eaten something. Oh, you're saying like the word is birthday, and by cutting it in half, birthday.
Is birth and day really separate than birthday?
Yeah. Okay. No. So what? So what he's going to say is that there, this goes back to our topic of mechusar kreva, and he holds that kreva is in love ma'asahu. You understand?
No,
meaning kreva is a necessity for. If I have 2 letters and they're not curved to each other, so it lacks kotev. It needs to be that my ktiva has letters that are next to each other. I need a kreva in my ktiva. But therefore, when I break up birth and day, it can't be that since I'm breaking up the kreva, I'm violating kotev. Moche. No, it doesn't work that way. That's what he wants to argue. Right?
Isn't there a whole thing that if you... I know it's not kreva, but
we're going to go a little bit, a couple more minutes, because I don't have my 9 to 5. Is that skip everybody? We go for 4 minutes? Yeah.
I know that if you write one letter that changes the meaning of the word, isn't that considered kotev? Yeah, we did that, didn't we? We discussed that. I think so.
Yeah, it's usher. Yeah.
So isn't it like the same thing here, where you're creating 2 words, even though you're doing something that wouldn't normally be considered?
Yeah, but wait. What a difference. One, you don't have that letter. You're creating a new letter. I have all the letters. Birthday.
Right,
I'll create it.
But I didn't write a word. I just wrote one letter.
That's what he says. He says, don't make that mistake. It's the creation of that. That's argument's sake. If you create that letter A, didn't exist, and you're creating it. You want to tell me I'm going to do one letter. Why is it the right stuff? Because you created a new word. I'm giving it different meaning. That could be the right stuff. But here, my birthday, but birthday exists before Shabbos.
No, but birth and day didn't.
It doesn't matter. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. They did. They just lacked kreva. And doing that kreva, or breaking the kreva, is not kotev. That's exactly what I'm saying.
No, but by doing that, you're actively making 2 different words. It's not like you're splitting up like I don't know, like day. You're splitting up day into DA and Y. You're splitting it up into birth and day. Like they both existed.
Right, they existed.
It's like an active form of kreva.
No, birthday exists before Shabbos. Birth and day now exist on Shabbos. He didn't do anything. The letters themselves existed before Shabbos, so you didn't do anything.
But the words didn't.
Yes, they did. They actually did. Birthday exists, and birth and day exist. He says the act of bringing things together is not sufficient.
I can see why people disagree with him. This is what people disagree with, right? You're saying? With the Ramah?
Wait, to be Mako?
With the kreva, his idea was kreva. You said people.
So there are, there are going to be those who are not going to be happy. So
I understand.
Everyone is going to agree that in between letters is going to be mutter. Will you be able to say that? What about if you put letters together? Here's the difference. When they're here, they're mamash apart and mamash totally separate. That's very different than in between letters. In between letters, everyone will agree is mutter. The letter, which has totally been disintegrated, now put together. Ramaz Mako, but I think the Magen Avram is Machmir. I have in my notes somewhere.
But isn't it the same thing that when you split it up and then it all has to do with kreva? That kreva is not an act. Isn't that the matir for splitting up the letters?
I apologize. It's a lavush. I have in my notes here. The lavush is Machmir. Lavush argues in the Ramah. Lavush says you cannot use those sidurim, those books on Shabbos. It's a lavush in my notes. Not only that, but I have here. I didn't bring the lavush. I don't think. The lavush is that he says it might even be doraisa, might be kosev doraisa, because it's like you're inking the letter together. Ink is permanent, so it's not like you're using something which is going to disappear. Meaning, it might be that you're breaking it down by opening the book, but there's a permanence to that letter, and he's kosher for doraisa, and therefore it should be machmir. What do you think about that? That's pretty crazy, huh? Yeah. So that's the idea. Is kreva by creating a letter kotev? The Rama says no. The Lavush says yes. So that's what you mean. Yes, that is a machloka.
Right.
In between letters, though, I'm pretty sure everyone holds it's okay
the
to do.
The whole in between letters thing, like, isn't that only based on the assumption that kreva is not a maaseh? So
No, because everyone's going to say that the letters exist ahead of time. So again, the machloka is going to be is kreva by a letter something. Because if I have nothing, because I just have an ink, and now I'm defraying the ink, and I'm bringing it back together, is that more of a kotev? Yes, it's kreva, but it's a kreva of a letter, or letters. And that's what he's worried about the lavush. Okay. Look at, see, I did bring it down. Look at source 5. In the Shart Sion, in Chav Gimel, the lavush and Magen Avram. The Gam Hamar HaMordechai Kad Yesh Nizar Bazeh. So those books, three opinions is a lot. So it's true that the Ramaz Meko for those books. So yesh definitely all immediately smoke, but the Lavush, the Magen Avram, Ramachmir. So Machlokas Acharoni about those books. Okay. There's one thing that I wanted to do. Here it is, 8. And this is what we're going to end with. Let's say you want to put up an announcement on Shabbos. And the truth is, I like the pages that are a great example. What about using a fridge magnet? What about letters on a fridge magnet? And what about Scrabble? So can you put letters on a fridge magnet, like you spell letters? Can you move those letters around? The letters exist. Is that a kreva thing? Meaning,
can you spell out a message with alphabet?
Yeah. If I have on my fridge, let's talk about a fridge. I'll tell you why. I have a fridge, and have I ever seen that before? Kids put letters on fridges or numbers on fridges. Where I'd be allowed to rearrange all the letters and say, I am going to my neighbor's, right? That's where I am. I'll be there till 3. I'll be home. The whole message your parents, right? The whole thing. On the letters exist at a time. Is that a problem of just mechus or kreva? The Ramah says mutter. Or do you think there's a difference? Or is there a chilik? Is it like in between letters, like a birthday cake? A birthday cake is a bit different. You're devouring them. Derech achila. That's what Shart Sion wants to argue, which I didn't really go into too much. In source 5, he wants to argue that really you shouldn't be allowed to do it. Maybe since you're eating it, derech achila, on Shabbos, maybe that's mutter. All right, this is a good question. Very important question. Letters on refrigerators. What was that? Okay, or Scrabble. And is there a difference between them? Okay. That's our question. Here we go. Take a look. We'll end with this. Source number 8. Ba'amidat otiyot kekotim kol echad b'nir acher. Zeh yitzol zeh b'Shabbos. Im yesh ba zeh mishum kotev. Sometime in Sivan. All right. Hine. Badavar. Imutar laha'amid numbers or misparim. Why write a word numbers? Just say misparim. I don't know why. Like the person will know the word lahamid and not know the word misparim. This means Purim in the Tanakh? Okay, whatever. Kotvim bin Nirot Miyuchadot. Special papers. Kol Echad Binir Acher. Everyone its own piece. They tell that. Kadeshi Yedu at Tzibor Be'ezeh Das Hem Tzrichim. Look at this. Mamash our case. Ata machashash ktiva, it's ktiva. V'yish listor machashash mechika. And the opposite, when you undo it or whatever, is that considered mechika? Hanachon lanyu daisi. Im eno mechubar es haos. Ela ha'amida ba'alma. Ein b'zeh shum chashash. Hear this fine language of Ramosha? What's he saying here? Im eno mechubar es haos. Ela ha'amida ba'alma. Gentlemen, what does ha'amida ba'alma mean to you? What's Amida Ba'alma? What is that? What's Amida Ba'alma versus Mechubar? If they're just placed leaning, that's Amida Ba'alma. Uh-oh. The problem with the bind is not Amida Ba'alma. They're connected to a ring, and the ring is connected to a board. If you want to tell me it's Amida Ba'alma, we just put a letter and you literally just lean it. Much more than just be the Balma, no? Dear Rabbi Tom, how could you? Okay. If let's say you're placing letters, silver letters, on a new parochet, the Magen Avram and Orchaim, Simin Shinmen, Asr. Eina din baror. Ayiv nishmas adam klalam et zayinot beis shel kol poskim no have kotev. V'la Rashi nami mistapek ulai davka b'maiser rokem. So vershu kotev. V'lo be techivat otiot kesef. What they're talking about is the following. I want to place letters on a parochet for an announcement. So I'm hooking them on. I'm connecting them. So we see most people are machmir. We see there's going to be mako too. It could be that the Chai Adam says the Nishmas Adam Chai Adam, same person, that's mutter to do, put letters on a parochas. Wow. Akopanim. Bechibur Oser Hamagein Avram Yesh LaHachmir. If there's going to be a chibur, then it's aser. We see it all comes down to chibur. So here's my question: are these letters mechaber? Are your letters on your fridge, magnet letters, are they mechaber? Are Scrabbles mechaber? Let's analyze these three scenarios. What do you think? It appears it's all about chibur for Rav Moshe. Is chibur the same as permanent? What do you mean?
Chibur to the pages.
What was that?
The ink is chibur to the pages in the book, but the structure of the letters is not permanent. Because they come apart very easily. But the letters are always going to be mechaber to the page.
Right. So you see, here's the case of permanence in letters.
No, not permanent in
words, structure.
But not permanence in letters. Right, that's very good. That'll be a word at the side of a book. That's much more about Kreva. What do you think? Let's go back to we'll come back to the printed letters for a second. Let's go back to fridge magnets and flipping pages on high holidays and Scrabble.
I don't think any of those are connected. The letters aren't connected with each other.
I mean, people the letters are connected to each other, the letters are set.
I don't think they're when you flip the letters, they're not actually connected to each other, even though there's a board behind them.
You're talking about Rosh Hashanah Kippur.
Yeah. And also when you put the letters on your fridge, like the ink is on the individual magnets. The fact that the magnet...
It's plastic. There's no ink.
What?
There's no ink. It's plastic.
It's colored somehow.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Like, okay, fine.
It's colored.
Okay.
Whatever.
Fine,
You're
doesn't
attached
matter.
to a magnet, and none of the magnets are actually attached to each other. You're not connecting the magnets to each other.
Right.
So they're not on the same. They're not connected. The letters aren't connected to each other.
I have a question. When you write, are these two letters connected to each other?
They are, because the ink is on the same back. It's on the same back.
Sharing a base.
Yeah.
Are these two letters sharing a base?
The ink is on
Here's
the
a question. Are these two letters on a fridge sharing the same base? It's called a fridge.
No, but I'm saying, that's why the coloring is on magnets, and the magnets are on the fridge. So the magnets aren't the ones that are connecting to each other.
What's the base? The magnet base?
I say the magnets are based because the ink is on the magnet. It's not on the fridge.
No, the A touches the fridge.
What?
Yeah, of
The
course
A
it does.
touches the fridge.
It touches the fridge, but that doesn't connect them. It just means they're both touching the fridge. They're not mechubar.
It's the same thing with
So
Shabbos.
is there-
We
is
have
there not
the
joined together?
What was that?
You put it down on top of it.
So again, if the Rav Moshe uses the language,
You're getting hana from the connection of both of them.
Yes, the magnets connecting the letters to the fridge.
No, but it has no hana.
The chibur asur.
It's a different din.
if there's a chibur, it's aser. However, if it is belav chibur klal, mashma in makom la'asur. He says, aval hacha, he says in our case, these flipping of the letters, shalo muchubur klal, ino inyan ktiva klal. V'chel adina tali im yesh ezo, this is it, look at the last two lines, adina. Tali im yesh eze chibur dekuv an hagabay. If there's something of chibur which is established by the gabay, shalo yazuzu mim koman, that the letters don't move from their place. Yesh laser, like the Magen Avram. Vim ein shum chibur, rak hamidarot zeitel zeh levad, ein esser lo mitar kota, lo mitar moche. It's all about chibur. Irshe chupa la yachtav. It's about Yerushalayim. It's about Yerushalayim. How come down to Yerushalayim? What do you think? It's about chibur. So there's a question. I'm asking, would you say, are these, let's go back to our Rosh Hashanah case, are these numbers michubar? Are they connected to each other? I
Is it
think...
mechubar to each other? Or is it mechubar to a surface?
Yeah.
So I think, here's what I think, and you tell me, you can tell me I'm wrong. I can live with
Do
that.
they take them down or do they flip them?
They flip them, they flip them, they flip them. So I don't think it's keeping. Meaning, it's true. What's giving their binder? They're giving the binder, whatever they're backed on, you're just putting them, it is connecting to them, I agree. But the letters themselves are not mechubar. The letters themselves, the digits themselves are flimsy, they move, they go on this binder, what's it called? Coil, not a coil, binder,
Ring.
a ring, thank you, ring. But here's going to be the problem. I don't know if I can argue that on letters on a fridge.
Not permanent, but they're on.
Said halacha l'maisa, listen to this. It goes back to the surface, the Microsoft surface. What does it say? If the surface, if everything is connected to the same surface, and it's connected, that's mechubar, that's asur to do. If they're not connected to the surface, then it's mutter. So Scrabble, if I take a Scrabble board and I do this, all the pieces are going to go fall away, no? That's why it's permissible to do. But all I'm doing is kiruv balma. Letters were there beforehand. Kiruv balma, that's not kotev. But you could understand why the letters here could potentially be a little bit more of a problem. Because I'm just creating the letters. It's more than just kiruv balma. Right? Potentially. And I wanted to throw that out there. And just, what they say. So that appears to be, so if gravity is the cause of the letters being there, meaning, like I'm saying, Scrabble boards, then that appears to be mutter, because it's not real chibur. It's gravity that's holding it in place. But if there's a chibur without, that's going against gravity, then that perhaps would make it asur. Hence, the fridge magnets could be a problem. Flipping the digits on Shabbos would not be a problem.
Why is the refrigerator a problem? You open the door, the letters.
Oh, no. That's the
You know
whole
what
point.
I'm saying?
That's the whole point. It's chibur. The letters are mechubar to the fridge. They share.
What if you have letters on your fridge going across the double doors? And can you open the doors to your fridge?
We still you could.
How is that possible?
It's
You
not.
have letters
You have
going
the fridge in
across.
the freezer.
Yeah, but when you open them, are they just gonna fall?
No, they're not like going over the.
They're not like in the crack.
But there are letters going through it. Open the fridge. First day.
So-
out of the shot. Oh my goodness. Oh my god.
What about a puzzle? What about if I have a puzzle? Can I make a puzzle on Shabbos? I'm the mechubar. It's not clean.
Last bit.
I'm not creating a kli. I'm creating a kli.
What if your Lego
Can I- what-
has...
Yeah, what about put pictures together? Is that not mechubar? It's pretty mechubar, no? If I have letters in my puzzle and I'm making, is that mechubar?
But if you flip them over, then they wouldn't.
What was that? So listen to this. You ready? Shlomo Zalman Auerbach says in Shomer Shoros Kochata that pictures on cardboard on a surface, and if you fix that surface to another surface, it's not kotev. So if you were to put, let's say, pictures in an album, might be okay, depending on the surface. But he actually is machmer in puzzles, and he says you should not do puzzles on Shabbos, because Shabbos is mechubar. You're connecting everything together. Puzzles on a fridge would be a problem. Could be the Ramah. I think the Ramah might hold though to be mutter, no, because it's just kirva. Who the Ramah would be more mako on puzzle on those magnets on Shabbos. But the problem is going to be the Magen Avraham is very machmir on this whole surface thing. So, what about for a kid? Okay, for kids, things are mutter. For kids to play with on Shabbos might be okay, but adults probably should refrain from building puzzles on Shabbos. Scrabble appears to be okay. That's total kiruv. It's not real writing at all. Okay, let's stop there for today. It was a lot of fun. Mir Hashem, we will do next week. Hopefully, we'll do a siyum on kotev, whatever that means, and then maybe the following week we'll do something on Hanukkah. We'll see Thanksgiving. Mir Hashem. Okay, have a good day.